Okay, this is my second live stream. I'm gonna try and be more talkative this time. All right, so what I've been doing here, if you saw any of the other live stream, is just working through the Com1 syllabus. This is from fall 2015. This is obviously not a live syllabus. And I am doing this just so you can see some of the techniques that one might apply to really analyzing what's going on in this class and how you might approach it. So what I'm doing right now is something, I don't know where I picked this up. I first went through and did, an analysis of the time commitment and the deadlines. I am slightly worried about this because to stay at an average of 10 hours a week for this class, I brought things down to 4 hours a week of reading, and I just don't know that that's going to be adequate for what's being demanded. So this might be for me a heavy class, and I'm going to, if I were to add other classes, I'd start to analyze how can I make this actually work. But right now I've shifted gears, and I'm going over what this class is actually about and how the content of the class is going to roll out, so I can stay really mentally organized and really in tune with what's important in this class. So course descriptions, if you get them, can be really, really important. This course provides an introduction to the fundamental concepts and contexts of communication: verbal, nonverbal, persuasive, technologically mediated, and regulated communication. So these different types of communication is explored in intrapersonal, interpersonal, small group, organizational, intercultural, and mass media contexts. So we've got these types of communication in these different contexts. I'm really starting to see this class already as a 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a 4 by 6 grid of some kind. But what I'm trying to do right now is coordinate that with what's going on down here in the schedule of lectures. So I am seeing 2 of these contexts of communication that are referred to very early: verbal communication, nonverbal communication. No, those are types of communication. And then I'm seeing some of the contexts of communication. So what I'm thinking here, and what I mapped out there on the left-hand side, is just the main concepts that I think kind of in the order that they get connected with each other. We've got interpersonal communication again, and then interpersonal communication and technology. So I think I'm going to hang off of these. So here I had verbal, intrapersonal, interpersonal, and there's some relation between intrapersonal communication and perception. So I have that reflected, and then nonverbal, intrapersonal, interpersonal, and again that link with perception, which might be with both of these contexts, intrapersonal and interpersonal, but they I can't quite tell from the syllabus. I'm gonna have my ears open for that. And then off of interpersonal communication, there's this next thing that comes up, and it seems like this might technologically mediated. That's another one of these types of communication. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm giving each of these types its own little spot. So technology, And then again, I'm going to put underneath that interpersonal communication. Seems to be linked to that one. All right. Right here, we have, it looks like now, two new contexts. Right? Interpersonal, small group, organizational, intercultural. Intercultural or intergroup is the next context that we're going to get. Public communication, persuasion. Yeah, it's really, I'm beginning to wonder if I should not just, I like to start with this mind map, but now I'm really feeling like to have total coverage and to not just repeat myself over and over again, I should make some grids. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. All right. Okay. Verbal communication. Nonverbal. I'm thinking it might be helpful to me to make a map of when these different topics come up. Okay, so now I feel like I've got a good sense of this class. What's happening in this class is it's actually really easier to see if I do this. Where did it go? All right. What we have here in this class are a standard set of lectures, 2.5 hours a week. With a 50-minute section, which I'm going to have work to do for, it's going to be very workshopy. I think that realistically, I have to up this because just eyeballing the reading and the level at which I need to process it to be ready for the exam. Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be more like that. So there's going to be an overage for this class. Way more work than I'm used to doing. Or that I would like to do for a single class. But just looking at its textbook reading, which for me is really super slow. The lectures have slides and a great amount of detail I'm going to be responsible for. So I just feel like all this is going to need to be processed quite a bit to be able to do these assignments. The first assignment is this paper. I made that little chart there of the big concepts of the class and sort of the idea of how do we're going to explore these different forms of communication through these different contexts. So I made this 4x6 or 5x6 grid so I could kind of add detail as I learn more about that. I don't know if that's a final format, but that's my sketch of how the ideas work in this class. Let me see if anybody, I have to keep looking at YouTube to see if anybody is actually in my chat. Oh, good. No one is. No one's here. I am the only person watching. It's weird to see the things I did like 3 minutes ago being replayed. No, 20 seconds ago. Anyway. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about test readiness today. The first thing that happens in this class in terms of tests, the only thing, well, no, there's a final as well. So both of these, what we learn from the syllabus is that these are multiple choice tests. The syllabus does not say how many questions are going to show up on that exam. And let me pull up the syllabus. But it does say things about the nature of the questions. And so I highlighted this, and there's going to be practice questions. Whole bunch of that, right? Yeah, multiple choice designed to test your detailed understanding, not your ability to memorize. And there's going to be a lot of real life examples. So it would not hurt for me to fill in that grid with real life examples as they come up in lecture. Okay, so since this is mostly going to be formed around, as she also says, in the note about how to handle our reading, make note in your head at minimum, but even better, make a written note in the margin on a separate sheet of paper of the important points of that section. Focus on these terms and concepts, but not just like memorize its definition. You have to know why it's important, what it relates to. So I think I'm going to be thinking about these terms also. I don't know, I might make a concept map here is what I'm thinking as the terms start to come in, but I want to decide how to relate that to this grid. I might bring them all together. I can't tell right now. But for the midterm, yeah, there's going to be some sort of vocabulary learning regime going on. And my favorite thing I'm thinking right now that what I'm going to be doing for both the lecture notes, well, no, what I'm going to be doing for the lecture notes is Cornell style notes. That's what I would do for this. And then I would do a question and answer sheet for the textbook. And I might see if I can merge those together. That might be most effective, is to have all one notebook for everything, so that I've got sort of a list of study questions from reading, and then also my Cornell notes, and keep them all together sort of chronologically through the quarter. That's what I'm thinking. And the reason why I'm talking about Cornell notes here, even though I know a lot of students hate Cornell notes, is that they are really effective for very intensive concepts and terms exams like this. When I say concepts and terms exams, I'm talking about like exams that are basically factual, but not particularly technical, or they don't have like sort of the problem solving difficulty level that you'd see, or the emphasis on problem solving. This has a bit of problem solving, right? You're going to see these novel situations. You have to apply the concepts, but it's it's much more you're going to get far more concepts in this class than you would in, say, a math class. But you have to do in a math class the things you do with them, highly technical, many different kinds of variations. This, it's more, many more concepts, but what you do with them is more limited, which is not to say that it's simple or easy. So if we just to make sure that you know what Cornell notes look like, let me see if I can find some on there. I believe I have some. Okay, so this is the Prezi that I use for note-taking strategies workshop. We'll skip through these things. I want to see, okay, yeah. All right. So I'm going to show you Cornell notes are one of the basic styles for note-taking. This is the most fundamental thing that people do with their notes, topics and subtopics. This is an example of a Cornell note-taking sheet. These are actual notes that I took in 2003. 20 years ago. I took a class called Math 15, which is a pre-calculus. They don't teach it at UCSB anymore. And yeah, so what you can see from Cornell notes is that you split your notes into these different sections. This bottom section, maybe not necessary, but what that's for is, well, I'll show you. You split your notes like this. So what I did is I got a bunch of scratch paper, and then I just threw it all through a copy machine. So I only printed on one side of it, with this line coming down like that and that line coming over like that. And then what you do during lecture is take your notes only in this right-hand square. So these are where all my notes are. And here, everything in red is where I am going back over my notes after lecture. So that's part of the Cornell system, is that after lecture, you revisit your notes. And what you're doing is making sure you understand everything, but you're also trying to keep at the front of your head, what does my professor want me to know? And then, well, you'll see here, I'm reading along. And yeah, if you're in a math class, anytime your professor does a demo problem, a demonstration problem, you need to make sure and maybe give that another try. So this is really critical information. This is what my professor wants me to know, how to do this problem. Yeah, all of that's involved, but this right here, if I set up some kind of self-quizzing with this problem, that's, the stuff that really gets me ready for the exam, because my exam is problem solving, right? So I put here, after lecture again, I pulled out the example to make sure and put some red on that to make sure I'd notice it. And then what is another general formula for a line? And you can see right here, this is your general formula for the line. And then I rewrote the prompt for this problem over here. Now, what does this do for me? By rereading the problem and rewriting the problem, and in a math class, I'd actually take the moment then to redo the problem. I'm just raising these questions to the front of my mind. I'm thinking about, what does my professor want me to know? And so that makes the information stick. It kind of knits together the information a little bit more. But the other thing is that leading into my exam to practice, I can put a big white square over this page, and I'll have just my questions over here. And that has instantly turned my lecture notes into running flashcards that I'm making as I move through the class instead of the last minute. And they're also, I would say, complex flashcards. This is not just concept definition, term definition. It's actually the kind of question that my professor would ask me, right? I'm using a technique by being close to the lecture, by having those questions really just like reverse, just feed off of what exactly is in this lecture, just reverse the language of it, just turn it into a question. This keeps me sharp, keeps me focused on exactly what I need to learn. Now, if you're applying this, I would actually say, though I did use this for a math class, I would say that this is not my favorite way of doing notes for STEM classes, these things that I would call performance classes, where, again, few concepts, very technical, difficult applications. This is actually my favorite one for classes like Com1, because that's where, if Dr. Mullen, who is the professor in 2015, if that professor raised, say, on the first day, what will they raise on the first day? Right. The very first day, this is, fall, so there's a first Thursday. There's just going to be a general introduction to something, the class, and then there's going to be this topic, defining communication. So, yeah, there's going to be actually this term defined, and maybe some reasons why it needs to be defined this way. Who knows? But what I'm going to be doing, as soon as that word comes up, I'm going to be noting, all right, yeah, anything about this, I can be tested on an exam, and I'm going to maybe write in the margin, what is communication? If the professor raises an example of something that seems like communication, but is not, I might say, why, or is this an example of communication? Why or why not? See, I will be all the time trying to follow the logic that the professor is trying to lay down. Okay, so that's like, how I think I'm going to handle notes. The other thing is that to start thinking about, so yeah, this will be part of my note-taking regime so that it will get me ready so that I can prepare well for my exams. And then I think I'm going to do something similar with the reading. So I think I've got an example of this also someplace, that this would be my first stab about how I would deal with the reading. Is it here? No. I think it's this one. I didn't finish this Prezi evidently. Hmm. What? Hmm. It isn't here. Hold on. All right. This is actually a page from the com reading, and I know from at least at some point. And what I'm doing here is I'm picking out each of the terms that I'm seeing and then examples. I want to make sure this is my main strategy because the professor said so much about this is, oh, and there's one of the big terms from the class, nonverbal, effective communication. So these are examples. Here's more terms. See, concept and term classes have a lot. And these examples. And then what I believe I would do with all of this is a kind of flashcard, but sort of a strange one. So right here, it says a baby cries. And I have to say, how does that act of a baby crying relate to these three terms? Familial relations, how do they relate to these three terms? and so on. And then, yeah, the three primary functions of communication. That seems like a good one. And you'll notice here, I just have the fronts of these, and then I say what page that information lives on. So again, I can use these in the days before my test to practice. And you'll see on my workload template, if we come here on line 16 to where the exam is, I don't have a huge amount of time set aside for studying for this. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll need more, but I am thinking 3 solid hours of just using those Cornell sheets from the lecture, and then using either flashcards like that or some sort of running list of prompts like that I will collect as I am doing the reading. Perhaps reading a section and then, doing what Dolly said, reflecting on it, digest it, and then extract those terms and the examples. So that's sort of my strategy for this class. In terms of the papers, is very little right now on the syllabus to tell me what those are going to be like. I'm assuming that they're rather short since they don't accrue a lot of pages. And one of them, that deadline is in pink because I'm not sure when it is. All right, so this would be my approach to COM. I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14 and 55. Oh, no, 16 and 55, 18 and 55, minus 6 for the last week. 12 and 55. I'm off by quite a bit. So I'm going to be really looking at whether I need to, whether the reading will actually take me that long. But like I said, textbooks are very, very slow for me. I don't know why. I'll check and see if anybody's here. I think it's just me. Okay. So moving right along, let's see what happens when we add another syllabus to this. Let's add anthropology too. This is a freshman starter set. Sorry. All right. Once again, at the top, Introduction to Cultural Anthropology. Okay, this is a winter quarter, but it doesn't matter. We're going to do this by week, so don't pay attention to dates right now. All right, it's a Tuesday, Thursday, 2.5 hours of lecture. So I'm going to go ahead once again. And already start doing my time management. All right, lecture. So if you aren't hip to the whole situation here, what you can see is that when I put in the amount of time, so this is 2 hours and 30 minutes per week of lecture. This is week 1, but oh, this was a winter quarter. This is week 1, it's this quarter. And I added 2 hours and 30 minutes. You'll see it's added that for the total workload hours, and then up here it added it to the weekly workload hours for everything. Okay, so right. Let's see, I also have a section. Oops, that's only 50 minutes. And one other thing I like to do here is come around and also add the office hours. We pretend like this is. And this professor for Anth 2, Shelley Lamont, PhD candidate of 2015. I hope she is off doing anthropology in the public interest. Has office hours on Wednesdays from 10 to 12. So this is my special office hours calendar. The reason why I have this is, you know, while I'm looking at my own calendar, right? I might not, if I'm not going to office hours, I don't need to see them, right? So if I want to go to office hours, I can click that and view. The other thing I like to do is add, I don't like to put it there because it tries to find a map. So I put it in the description. Let's see if I can. No, it will not. Will it? All right. Oh. Okay. So once again, I am going to skip the good part for a minute, which is the course overview and objectives. And I am going to go straight to what are the big assignments. Okay, discussion section, course participation. There's a midterm, there's a final, there's an ethnographic project. Those are the big ones. 25, 25, 20. Discussion section is also 20. I bet that there's something that I need for that. Okay, I'm going to need an iClicker for lecture, and there will be syllabus quiz, oh, just one, I assume, and a human subjects training. Okay, my TA is going to give me a section syllabus so I can find out what will comprise that 20% for discussion section. All right, so I'm gonna start. I'm mostly looking for, okay. There is nothing else on this about what my exams will be like. Oh, yeah, here it is. There will be one midterm and a final exam. Both exams will have an at-home written component and an in-class multiple choice component. So I seem to be in sort of the same territory as Com1. The written component will be worth 20% of the exam grade and will be done through a Gaucho-based forum. The in-class portion of the midterm will take place during the lecture period on Tuesday, February 10th. The in-class portion of the final takes place from all that time on the 19th. Final exam is partly cumulative. All right, and there's a pink par score involved. Okay, so my task here, the multiple choice thing, I'm gonna repeat the same stuff I would say for Com1. I am thinking I'm going to handle this through some combination of Cornell notes for my lecture, and then some sort of collection of questions from the textbook. That's my thought right now. But I'm not sure about that. Because I also, yeah, there's this written component. And that's also making me think about, yeah, what questions could possibly come up for that written component. Okay. Let me go ahead and finish this. Okay. So Okay, so what I did up here is I read through all of this and I'm trying to focus on where there's an implication of a big course question. Because I'm just trying to figure out how to organize my thinking for this class. I mean, obviously we have this concepts and terms class, but I also seem to be encouraged to think about some pretty big questions here. So I don't know, I'm thinking about the essay parts of the exam or the written parts of the exam. And I'm also thinking about this paper and wondering if I need to be considering these questions as underlying some of this work. Okay. Under each week, you'll find assigned readings. All readings from the sources other than Culture Counts textbook will be listed there. Okay, so I've got a textbook, yes. And then also these readings, the same setup as COM 1. In the left-hand column of the main Gaussian spots page under administration heading, grades, profile. All right. Open forum, discussion sections, general questions. Okay, questions about the assignments, excellent. Okay, yeah, I went down and was examining what this paper is going to be like, a substantial paper, March 3rd. Yeah, that's going to be like 8th week or so. And yeah, this is a substantial paper. So that's going to take me between 10 and 14 hours to do that. And I was interested in this sentence. Students will conduct a minimum of 3 ethnographic observations at a local field site to build a thoughtful cultural analysis. So that's what I'm thinking up here. How do people interpret their worlds, organize themselves, exert control, or maintain cohesion? That my analysis really needs to be fitting in maybe with one or more of these questions. Okay. So we don't have a schedule of lectures on here. So that's about all I can do with that. And I don't know that I even have, yeah, I don't even have the dates of the exams. Oh no, here they are. Okay. I have no idea how much the reading is. I am going to have to do some sort of digesting once again of both the readings. So I'll probably do that as I'm reading, and the Cornelling my lecture notes. So I'm going to give about 45 minutes to that. So that's 4 hours, 5 minutes. So this will get, it's 3 hours, 55 minutes. I just want to throw that in there and just have this as a straight 8-hour. And then the deliverables, I think that there's some little picky things in there, but we have, where did it go? Right, the first midterm, Tuesday, February 10th. It's, yeah, Friday. Well, Thursday, or no, it's Tuesday of, looks like week 6. So if we put in here about 7 hours to get ready for that midterm, I might not need it that much, but oops. It's actually not just the sort of vocabulary task, but also, you know, sort of gathering some paper outlines and being ready for whatever that writing task is going to be. And it's really hard to, it could be a pure expository writing task. What are the 3 major theories of culture that we've discussed in this class? Or it could be, yeah, where I'm going to have to discuss 3 films in terms of what they represent, about how people interpret their cultures. All right, the next exam is on March 19th. It's a final. Okay. But then before that, there's going to be the paper, and that is due on March 3rd. Which we're going to say that's Tuesday of week 9. I'm just guesstimating what these actually were based on, because the quarters don't shift out around that much, right? So this is going to be a 14-hour job. I'm going to give myself 14 hours. No, let's go ahead and do 10. Now you'll see I'm putting the times in there very gradual, because I'm keeping my eye on the number up here. I just don't really want anything to get overloaded. Oh, but I should go ahead and add these in. Yeah. So we're now, that week is looking really like, I hope there's nothing else that has to go into that week. Well, I mean, obviously there will be. 26 hours won't break anyone, but it's starting to get heavy. Oh, is somebody on my channel? No. Okay, let's go back. Again, it's not just the exam itself. Oh, and don't forget, you actually have to sit in the exam. Forgot about that. It's the writing. And this one too, I forgot to put in the actual exam time. All right, that week is over. This week is over, that week is a tick over. All of these weeks are turning out to be a tick over, except for these ones at the beginning. Might want to spread things out even more. Like this exam preparation right here, it might be good just to pull that back and start doing like, you know, mini reviews. Okay, that's a little more even. Okay, and I have very little other information here. This is probably going to be some combination of Cornell notes, but I don't think I want to do that same sort of grid. What I would want to do for this class, you know, the grid that I made for Com 1, what I would want to do for this class is something a little bit different. But I think I'm going to have to turn to that later because I have to go to my next thing. But you've gotten another outrageous, ridiculous filibuster of academic skills. I hope that you've enjoyed it. And thank you for your attention.